Afternoon, but thank you all for being here. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Certainly. Good afternoon. Mr. Taylor, Mrs. Herbert, Dr. Bustles, Mr. Brennan, Mr. McDowell, Mr. Duval, Mayor Rickaman.
Here, I would like to note for everybody that Ms. Herbert is not here because unfortunately her grandmother passed away and the funeral was today, or she would be here, I promise you. But did want to acknowledge that we send our condolences to her family, and I hope y'all will keep her in her thoughts and prayers. With that, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend McDowell, would you do us the honor of saying a few words before we start the meeting?
How good and how pleasant it is for us to come together to discuss the business of our city. And as we discuss this business, we ask that you might sensitize and be critical listeners to what is being discussed. Oh Lord, for all that you've done for us, for this day and for all of the hopeful possibilities you've allowed us to share in. You've allowed us to come to this place. Some would term it as City Hall, others the chamber. I sort of say this is where the people meet to listen, to ask questions, and to be both discerning and sensitive to the needs of this, our dear city. This is a critical time in the life of this city as we move forward with critical and severe issues that we are trying to tackle and respond to, some of which you will hear today. We would simply ask that you might touch us individually and collectively. We ask it in the Creator's name. And every heart said, amen. Amen.
I'm Mayor Rickaman and Council. At this time, we ask that Council adopt the agenda. We have one deferral, Mayor Rickaman, item 25, I believe. Is that right, Mr. Duval? As well as an additional presentation. I'm going to add it as item 4B, the Tunnel to Towers Run and 9/11 Morning of Remembrance Ceremony, Mr. Dan Hennigan. And those are the changes, Mayor.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, concerns, or discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman.
Aye.
At this time, we will ask for any public input related to the agenda items as listed.
So as you know, we have two places for input. One is now, if you have a question about anything on our agenda, and then we have a general public opportunity to speak on any subject after we finish the agenda towards the end of the meeting. Is there anyone who wanted to speak on any item on the agenda this time? All right, seeing none and hearing none, Madam City Manager?
Yes, sir. At this time, we would ask for the approval of the minutes, the July 26, 2022, and the August 2nd, 2022 work session and council meeting minutes.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns on any of these minutes, work sessions, or council meetings? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Sorry, Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving into a period of presentations, our first is item 2, the resolution number R 2022-073, approving the honorary naming of the intersection of Adams Grove Road and Colonial Drive, Willie A. Tompkins Senior Drive.
Madam City Manager, I'm going to yield from the councilman from District 2.
Will members of the family, are there members of the family here today? Oh, okay. Let's step up. Many years ago, I met a gentleman after moving to Columbia and prior to when I was doing some itinerant traveling.
What you got to say on
Oh, okay.
mic.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. Some years ago, I met a young man who became a real close friend of mine, and of course to my family. Willie Tompkins was that kind of guy who was not only involved in his community, but involved with every single person in the Columbia arena. He was there. Whenever I asked him to do something for me, he was there. He was a good listener. He could tell a good joke at times, but most of the times his jokes were dry. But I smiled anyway. He was a guy who understood what it meant to care for people, to love people where they were and not particularly where he wanted them to be. Willie Tompkins was that kind of guy who cared not only individually for families when death bombarded their lives, but to sincerely care for them in such a way and to carry out a service that was memorable and honorable. Bosket Tompkins Funeral Home, a landmark in our community, a place where persons were able to find comfort in the midst of death. So we named that lane, that street, right next to the funeral home, Willie A. Tompkins Jr. Drive. Today, I present this to his daughter. Thank you so much for being a part of us. I'll never forget some years ago when we were dedicating some property on the northeast side of town. Brother Willie came up to me afterward and said, "Reverend, I want you to do something for me." And I said, "What is that, Brother Tompkins?" He said, "Pray for me." I said, "I do that all the time." He said, "No, you don't." But here was a guy whom I love, and of course, we honor him today. Thank you so much. Would you like to say something?
I just want to say thank you. This has been a really long journey dealing with grief and losing my dad, but I felt like I really wanted to give him everything that he deserved and honored, even with his passing, and I thought that this would be a perfect way to represent him. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Reverend McDowell.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 3 is the Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month proclamation. The Honorable Daniel J. Rickaman, Mayor.
Before I start, the James R. Clark Memorial Sickle Cell Foundation, September is National Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and this Saturday, September 10th, is an in-person or virtual option walk. And the walk ambassadors are the Nobles of Islam Shrine Temple Number 1. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today in support. As we know, sickle cell is a disease that is inherited in the red blood disorders that cause red blood cells to elongate and clog blood vessels, thereby affecting all of the body's systems. The World Health Organization estimates that more than 250,000 babies worldwide are born with sickle cell disease. Unfortunately, sickle cell disease is one of 11 severe chronic diseases affecting our children in South Carolina. They estimate that approximately 1 out of every 400 African American newborns in South Carolina has sickle cell, and 1 in 3 African Americans carries the sickle cell trait gene. Through currently no universal cure for sickle cell disease exists, quality treatment, disease management can prevent needless deaths and suffering. Provisions for genetic testing, counseling service can serve to greatly impact the prevalence of sickle cell disease through family planning and other prevention services. So, whereas the James R. Clark Memorial Sickle Cell Foundation Medical Services Network provides an effective approach to treatment, management, and preventative services which serve to alleviate suffering and enhance the lives of citizens with sickle cell disease and those who are at risk throughout the Midlands area. So now and therefore, I, Daniel J. Rickman, the mayor of City of Columbia, South Carolina, along with my fellow members of the City Council, do hereby proclaim that this city honors, recognizes, and supports the efforts to reduce and help find a long-term cure for sickle cell disease by claiming the month of September 2022 as Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month. And I'd like to present the proclamation to our ambassadors, if that's okay. Gentlemen. We're being directed. This is the story of my life.
Look at this. So stupid.
The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I want to begin by thanking the Honorable Mayor Daniel Rickman, his staff, and members of City Council for the opportunity to receive this proclamation on today. I also want to thank them for the opportunity to share and encourage participation in our 16th annual Dr. James R. Clark Sickle Cell Walk. The 16th annual walk will be held Saturday, September 10th at Martin Luther King Park, 2300 Green Street. Online registration begins at 7:30 a.m., pre-walk ceremony at 8 a.m. with online registration at strictlyrunning.com. The walk is held each September to honor children, families, and adults who live daily with the chronic illness known as sickle cell disease, and as a celebratory event in honor of September as Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month. Sickle cell disease affects millions throughout the world and directly affects approximately 100,000 Americans. Sickle cell affects the red blood cell, causing cells to become misshapen and trapped in tiny arteries, which causes pain and numerous serious complications. Proceeds from our walk benefit our scholarship fund, which assists students with sickle cell disease in their pursuit for higher education. To date, we have awarded 33 scholarships with proceeds from the walk. We are honored this year to have the service of the Islam Temple's #1 potentate, Mr. Gerald Jenkins, with us. For over 3 decades of service, they have assisted and supported the mission, goals, and service-based programs of the James R. Clark Foundation. Our walk has a special place in our hearts and was envisioned by Patty Garone, board member whose daughter is affected by sickle cell disease. Also here today is our youth ambassador, Precious Mitchell, her mom, Georgetta Woods, and family. Precious actually lost a little sister to sickle cell disease and represents the estimated 100,000 individuals who live daily with the effects of sickle cell disease and who hope for a universal cure. Present as well are our 2022 recipients of our Walk Scholarship, Kayla Adams. Her sister Felicia is also a recipient. Kayla is seeking a master's degree at USC and Felicia at Midlands Tech. We also have a past scholarship recipient, Mr. Timothy Griffin, who is a graduate of Claflin University. Many of our partner organizations are also here today, including the Be Strong Group, American Red Cross, and we also have a mother here, Ms. Laura Grant, who also lost a daughter to sickle cell disease. Please join us on September 10th for our annual Sickle Cell Walk and join the sickle cell community in September as we recognize Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month and shine the light on sickle cell disease. Additional info can be found at the City of Columbia website strictlyrunning.com, and www.jamesrclarksicklecell.org. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you very much.
Item 4 is the National Infant Mortality Awareness Month. I think it's a proclamation, perhaps. Is it? I'm not
You
sure.
have something else.
Okay. The Honorable Daniel J. Rickaman.
I'm going to yield the floor to Mr. Bundy on this one to start off. And just so everybody can see, can all of my Prison of Health folks that are over there doing great things stand up for a minute so we can see you? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Bundy, the CEO of Prisma Health Richland Hospital, and thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. On behalf of all of Prisma Health, I'd like to thank Mayor Rickaman and the entire Columbia City Council for recognizing the life-changing work our Prisma Health Midlands Healthy Start team provides to reduce disparities in maternal and infant mortality within our communities as we kick off September as National Infant Mortality Awareness Month. Today, I'm joined by Ms. Kim Alston, the Director of Midlands Healthy Start, along with numerous members of her team. Y'all can throw a shout out and a wave now. This team works in communities of Richland and Sumter counties to build strong partnerships with families to help bridge gaps that exist among the health and social service providers that impact maternal and infant mortality. Midlands Healthy Start is a member of the National Healthy Start Initiative, which is recognized as a leader in reducing infant mortality and the hub for maternal and child health programs and services. Beginning with encouraging expectant mothers to start quality prenatal care as soon as they become pregnant, our team brings a holistic approach to improving birth outcomes and family well-being. Using an array of services from childbirth education classes to nutrition management to fatherhood initiatives, Midland's Healthy Start plays an integral role in helping decrease South Carolina's infant mortality rates. South Carolina's infant mortality rate in 2020 was at 6.5 infant deaths per 1,000 live births, which is 7% lower than 2019's rate of 6.9 infant deaths per 1,000. We're encouraged by this decline, but we know there is much work to do. As an organization, Prisma Health delivers approximately 15,000 babies each and every year. As we recognize September as National Infant Mortality Awareness Month, I applaud you, Mr. Mayor, and Columbia City Council for bringing awareness to the efforts being made by our team members to reduce the state's infant mortality rate and supporting our work to improve the health and well-being of women, infants, children, and families. Thank you, sir.
Hello, I'm Kim Alston, and I'm the director of Midland's Healthy Start with Prisma Health. And I've actually been there since the inception of the program. And I'm just honored that our team has been recognized for the work that we've been doing. It's been a lot of work put into doing what we do. We feel that by saving one baby's life at a time, that we're making a change in the community so we can have future individuals to be constituents in the communities that we serve. So again, on behalf of Prisma Health, Midland's Healthy Start, and my team, because they do all the great work, I would just like to thank you for this opportunity.
Ms. Alston, I want to thank y'all for what you do. All of us have had a friend, a relative, or a close acquaintance, or even ourselves have been through a situation. And what your team does is amazing work. And not everybody can perform that type of service, and the comfort that you're giving families and the preventative measures that y'all are helping to put have made a massive difference in our community. I've heard it more than once. So with that, I would like to invite the whole team up so that we could present you with the key of the city to thank you for what you're doing here in the Midlands.
Thank you.
They'll have to share it. They'll have to share it.
for those who have been part of the presentations or something, if you would like to leave, we will not be offended by it at all if you want to head on out. Yep.
Okay. That's item 4B. We've added the Tunnel to Towers Run and 9/11 Morning of Remembrance Ceremony. Mr. Dan Hennigan.
Dan?
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing me to be in front of you today. It's a privilege and an honor. I stood here 12 years ago with a vision of building the 9/11 Memorial. I went to New York City and received 2 steel beams from the mayor and the commissioners of New York City. We took those beams, we came back on September 7th, 2010. I got a call from Chief Jenkins, your fire chief, and he asked me if he could have the beams to share them on 9/11. I don't remember the name of the park we went to, but we went to a park and there was 20 people there and 2 steel beams sitting on chairs. That really motivated me to move quickly in what this vision was. I built a team of 9 people, and they're still with me. So, 9/11, we must never forget. And Columbia, Lexington, and Richland are all part of this memorial. It's your tax, your hospitality tax. So if we're in the black or in the red, we're all in it together. And I've been happy to report that for the last 12 years, we moved and built a 9/11 memorial, and we did it in 3.5 months, and we raised $755,000, all paid off to everybody. And there's so many people, community leaders in this community, that joined hands with myself and built that memorial. That memorial has a name, and it's the 9/11 Memorial. But if you look at the towers represent resolve. At the top, if you notice, they're cut off, and they're sitting at the bottom next to the beams, so we never forget the fallen. And if you notice, the beams are bent across to remind us we're a united nation of one. Resolve, never forget the fallen, and a united nation of one. Every year, we did a little bit more to make the memorial even more correct. We took Fargo, who was killed, Richmond County police dog, and we put a dog there. Last year, I'm so proud of my team and the community because we built a wall of remembrance like in New York City, the Brooklyn Wall of Remembrance at Coney Island, 416, and the iconic number 343 is the number of firefighters that died that morning. And that fireboat is named after those 343. Mr. Mayor, council members, everybody here, I invite you out this Sunday at 8 o'clock and be part of our remembrance, morning of remembrance. Ladies and gentlemen, my team, and Susan McPherson is part of my team, she's a board member. We put our hearts and souls to make this the best in the United States of America. And you know what? We have a relationship with the commissioners in New York City, and they come down and participate. And I encourage every county, but I'm in front of you today, to please find time to come. You'll see 4 F-16s. You'll see helicopters. You'll see a choir. You'll see an honor guard. And our memorial is not just about 9/11. We talk about the 4 strikes. David Pelly, Marine First Sergeant, at every bell and each strike, he steps out of the formation and he does a 2.5-minute speech of what happened at strike one. And then we go on to the next strike. Four strikes from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be here before you, but it's been a labor of love, and it's something that we can all be proud of. I wish I could stand in front of every county, but this is your memorial. I encourage you to please take a moment, join us. In front of you, you got a couple documents. You got the agenda, second by second. The performance by my team making this agenda, I hope you see right now, it's unbelievable. It's top quality. A lot of effort goes in there. Unfortunately, we lost one of our best. And he's in here, and we're going to remember him and his family. And you also should have the Tunnel to Tower run the route. The last thing that just came off the press in June was my team. I wanted to put together a trifold. I wanted to tell the story of the foundation so every member in South Carolina and across the country would know what we do. So take a moment, maybe not now, but look at the trifold. It will tell you the story from the beginning to the end and what my foundation, the 9/11 Remembrance Foundation in South Carolina, it will tell you what we do. And one of the nicest things, and I'll close by saying, we were selected by New York to have a survivor tree. And there's a survivor tree from Tower 1 from New York City that sits at the convention center. So in closing, sir, and council members, I look forward to seeing you. 12 years ago, I stood here, and I'm glad at going on 71 that I'm still able to walk around and maybe give you the most important thing I could give you in my life. You all know, Chris, how you doing? He always helps me out. He always answers his phone. Sir, God bless. God bless. God bless. Mr. Mayor, God bless.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay. This concludes our conversation. Can I answer any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Dan? Other than thank you, Dan, for continuing to keep it alive and keep it moving forward. 12 years is a long time.
Every year, sir. We'll never miss a year. And I hope when I'm 85, 90, that someone just keeps it going. And God bless everybody.
Thank you for being here. You're lucky the clerk's not correcting you right now, because if that was anybody else, she'd have already corrected you, don't leave the mic. Good to see you, Dan.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Moving into a period of city council discussion, item 5 is in regards to retiree benefits. Ms. Denise P. Javis, the Director of the Human Resources Department, will come forward and present. Thank you, Dr. Javis.
Thank you, Mayor Rickenman, to the members of council, City Council Wilson.
In 2018, the city approved participation in the state health plan, and the city became a part of the South Carolina Group Health Plan benefit, and that happened in January of the following year, 2019. In 2020, PEBA increased the employer premiums, but PEBA increased employee premiums, but the city opted not to pass that increase on to retirees at the time. But next year, in January of 2023, PEBA will increase the employer's portion of the retirees' premiums, the employer premium, a rate of 18.1%. And it has been, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but the active employee premiums are designated by PEBA, so we cannot change those. But as a local sub, we're able to change the premium and alter in any way the premiums of retirees. And to my knowledge, it has been determined that we will do just that. We will pass on that 18.1% increase to all participating retirees. In the next couple of weeks, we will be sending out information notifying retirees of this increase with hopes that it gives them time to prepare for what is coming. And again, it will be effective January of 2023. At this time, I'll entertain any questions.
What will be the process moving forward to share all this information? Because there has been some retirees who've reached out, some who are going to transition into supplemental policies and others then staying on. I mean, there are a bunch of different options. Is there a third-party administrator helping, or how are those questions being fielded?
Up until this time, when we have retirees that for some reason don't qualify, we always try to help them. But our department we're not advising them on what they should or should not do with reference to that. We're not a third party. The only thing that we can do is advise them on what we offer. But, we entertain any questions that they may have or any assistance they may have. But at this point, we'll be notifying them by letter. Very shortly, we'll be sending out rate sheets along with the letter to let them know exactly where they're going to be. And at this point, they have about 4 months to find something else, find another plan of some sort, or pay the premiums that are offered.
Mr. Duvall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Denise, didn't understand that we've had 2 increases and that the city has absorbed for the retirees, and this is the 3rd increase, and we're going to let it go into effect?
This, to my knowledge, is the 2nd increase, right? This, to my knowledge, is the second increase.
We absorbed 1 then.
We absorbed 1. And we have, not since I've been here, increased the rates for retiree premiums at all. And that was 2019.
Are there any other questions, council members? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Javis. At this time, Mayor Rickaman and council, we have the consent agenda items 6 through 22 before you for consideration.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, concerns, discussions? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Mr. Taylor? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell? Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Moving into a period of ordinances first reading, item 23 is ordinance number 2022-089, amending ordinance 2022-052 to adopt the budget for the city of Columbia, South Carolina for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. And I wanted to say a personal thank you to members of City Council for all of the hard work and patience that you have put in with us as staff as we've gone through various suggestions, recommendations, through work session discussions over the last several weeks. You finish a budget, you get it approved by July 31st, and then we immediately went into what I think are some very important decisions for the internal needs of our city, and we really thank you for taking those to heart and giving us guidance to get these approved.
Thank Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell? Yes. Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 24, ordinance number 2022-080, amending the 1998 Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, Chapter 14, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 1 in General, Section 14-7, the reporting of lost, stolen firearms, firearms recovered from crimes or criminal activity.
Motion to approve?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Duval, then Mr. Reverend McDowell.
Mr. Mayor, this had been referred to the Public Safety Committee, and we deliberated on it, and are reporting this out to the full council for approval. It raises the penalty for failure to report your firearm being stolen to $500. This was an existing law in the city's ordinance, but it was not at $500. I believe the penalty was $100. We have a problem, a gun violence problem in Richland County in the city of Columbia, and part of that problem is the availability of firearms. The firearms that we take off the streets are around 800 firearms because of ShotSpotter and arrest and all, but we have about 500 firearms a year that are stolen out of cars, and the great percentage, over 90% of those cars are unlocked vehicles. So this is an effort to get the attention of the public that if we're going to get a handle on gun violence in Richland County and the city of Columbia, you need to keep your firearms locked up. You need to keep them secured so that people cannot get them out of an automobile or out of your house. If you lose a firearm, it is your duty to report it to the proper authorities, or you may be fined $500 if we turn that firearm up and prove that it was yours. So I would support the passage of this firearm.
Reverend McDowell?
Yes. Mr. Duval, when you all passed this, did you take into consideration ghost guns? Yes, we took into consideration your suggestions of ghost guns, but we are prohibited by a court order of Judge Manning from dealing with ghost guns, so we did not do anything with the ghost guns ordinance. What was the prohibition? What was, you say Judge Manning did what? He ruled, I think I'll need to get a lawyer up here, a real lawyer. Because I think my intent was to include ghost guns. Yeah, you asked for the ghost guns to be included, but Judge Manning has said that the state has preempted us from dealing with ghost guns.
That's right. Preempted from ghost guns, the guns at school, and the mental health issue. The three that y'all repealed recently, Judge Manning's order still stands that we were preempted by state law.
So, Ms. Knox, we cannot include ghost guns as a part of this ordinance.
No, sir, not legally.
So what do you do when you got a number of cases that involve ghost guns?
Well, there's still avenues through the state law.
I'm
just not-
sorry?
There's still avenues through state law, just not city code.
Good grief. Well, I thought this was going to be ever sweeping, and it was going to be all inclusive of guns. And if ghost guns, because ghost guns, I think you all know the data is out there that a number of crimes are committed by persons who have either stolen a gun, used a ghost gun in the act of violence. So what I'm hearing you say is that there's nothing we can do to make this a comprehensive part of this ordinance. We cannot.
No, sir.
Good grief. I think that, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I think that sort of defeats the purpose in terms of what this ordinance is all about, and not being inclusive in that ghost guns are not included in that. Now, that was by virtue of the appeal we did some months ago.
Judge Manning issued an order
We appealed it, we withdrew, so that order stands.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Taylor, then Dr. Bustles.
No, I was going to say, I want to thank Dr. Bustles for bringing this ordinance and drafting it, and Councilman Duval for shepherding it through the Public Safety Committee. I think what we've done doesn't create a criminalized situation, and I think it's something that will pass legal channels. So thanks to both of y'all.
Thank you. And I would just add to that, that the intent behind this, given that the prevalence of gun violence continues to plague our city, is to be able to have a tool in the toolbox that is evidence-based and speaks to some of the data that we are seeing around lost and stolen firearms. It's not a catch-all solution, but the city can't be the leader in everything. We need our state and federal partners to step in and help, especially as it relates to some of the issues that either lead to or are underlying gun violence. But we hope that this sets the standard that we are a city that believes in accountability, and we are a city that's always ahead of the curve when it comes to creative solutions to address problems that are facing our city, despite some of the legal challenges that we often have to move forward. So I want to thank my colleagues, as this is my first city law that will hopefully be passing at the second reading. I appreciate the thoughtful conversation, and I appreciate my state partners and the AG's office for being open to conversation as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Reverend McDowell.
Yes, I cannot support this. I support what you're doing, Dr. Bustles, but it is not an all-inclusive ordinance. Ghost guns are not. Ghost guns, I think you all know, represent a large, voluminous number of killings. And to exclude that it's just unthinkable that we not include that as a part of this ordinance. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion?
Mr. Mayor, when it comes from a committee, does it require a second or not?
No, sir, it does not. Not from a committee.
That's what I thought. So,
I made the motion, so.
Second? We have a second from Will. Any more discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, let's move forward. As we continue to move forward, though, we won't give up on our efforts to continue to work with our legislative partners and other folks to find avenues to address gun violence across, but we can't stop. Every time we hit a roadblock, we got to keep continuing and being creative and work together. And so we're going to continue to do that. That's our commitment and has been our commitment. And we're going to have to get creative. And as this legislative season comes forth, we'll be having those discussions. But with that, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Taylor?
aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
No.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 26, deferring item 25. Item 26 is resolution number R 2022-049, authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase and sales agreement between the City of Columbia and Reverend W.J. Greer and Effie F. Greer as co-trustees of the Greer Family Revocable Living Trust dated the 4th day of March 2019 for the
I move
purchase of...
approval. So move.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Mr. Taylor?
No.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Item 27, resolution number R 2022-076, authorizing the city manager and fire chief to execute an automatic aid agreement for fire service response between the County of Lexington, County of Richland, and the City of Columbia.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I've got
Yes,
a
sir.
question of, I think Chief Jenkins, I saw him, is here. Chief, a question for you about this contract for service that Ms. Wilson's about to sign. Does it extend the workload of our fire department contract as it is, or is this more of a service, an agreement that's been in place, just a renewal as far as workload?
we're already doing like mutual aid up there, so this is not an extended work.
So mutual aid, can you just describe mutual aid real quick for us?
Mutual aid, that means they call for us. Automatic aid means that we respond automatically. But this actually gonna help us in that area as well.
Okay, okay, so that, the Lexington Fire Department will respond as well to our territory.
That's most up there in Chapin area, Ballantyne area.
Okay.
So that's gonna actually help both sides.
Oh, good, good. And is something like this taken into account when you do your staffing needs for the growth of the upcoming contract that I hope you're going to call a meeting for soon too, sir?
Yeah, again, this will help us as well as help Lexington up in the area. So we do take into account, because if we ride short, then they can do automatic aid with us, and that help us as well. Just be honest with you, it's going to help them more, but it's going to help us as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other questions? Concerns? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Item 28, resolution number R 2022-080, approval for release of agreement regarding 2 lots at 1796 Shady Lane in Richland County.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Moving into a period of event resolutions, item 29 is resolution number R 2022-059, authorizing consumption of beer, wine, and liquor.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. Any questions, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you read the roll?
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Item 30, resolution number R 2022-068, authorizing consumption of beer, wine, and liquor at the Palmetto Peanut Boil fundraiser in the 2900 block of Divine Street on Saturday, October the 8th, 2022, with a rain contingency date of Saturday, October 15th,
Motion to approve.
2022.
Second.
So motion and a second. Any discussions, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Mr. Taylor?
In honor of John Taylor, who finished second in the bowl peanut competition last year, I proudly vote yes.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
In honor of John, yes.
Thank you.
Item 31, resolution number R 2022-081, authorizing consumption of beer and wine only at Jubilee Festival of Black History and Culture within the 1800, 1900, and 2000 blocks of Marion Street between Richland Street and Elmwood Avenue.
So move.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any questions, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Appointments, item 32, the Columbia Museum of Art. There's currently 1 vacancy.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to nominate Paul Balknight for this position.
Is there a second on the nomination?
Second.
Any other nominees, questions, concerns? With that, we'll move forward with the nomination of Paul Balknight. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Item 33 under other matters is the pilot program on anti-violence efforts. The Honorable Daniel J. Rickaman, Mayor.
Several months ago, we brought forth a council, and we've been trying to figure out exactly how we'll move forward on these various programs. And I know council's talked about a process for different groups to move forward and applying for possible funding in different categories. But several months ago, we had the opportunity, I had to meet with the treasurer and was able to get unclaimed funding, funds that were available to the city. And I think one of the things that I think I'd like us to try and for your consideration is that we use the unclaimed funds over a monthly period for the next 3 months on a reimbursable process to advance and pilot the gangs program that we have all been brought forth from council, from the group in the community. Because when you look at the program, a lot of it's reimbursable, but if you look at the program, the fall programming calls for about $25,000 plus transportation. And I think this would be a great opportunity for us to use this unclaimed funding to evaluate the program and see, is this a long-term? With it being a reimbursable on month-to-month, it gives us an opportunity to pilot the program and see if it's something that A, makes sense, B, it doesn't commit us to a long-term, but allows us to see what the results are. Obviously, we wouldn't be voting on something today, but I wanted to bring this forth for us to have consideration because we do have the unclaimed funds that we could put towards that, and it would allow us to work with the organization to really measure. I know they've had great success with their after basketball program and their midnight basketball, but this program provides transportation and the facilities and et cetera for the fall, and it allows us then to comprehensive look at what the possibilities. I know that County Council is going through a process. They're going to make some announcements this week about what they're going to do long-term in their process, but I think this was a good way for us to use unclaimed funds that we haven't, we didn't count on receiving.
How much money was that?
It was about $28,722, somewhere in there. And obviously, this is for consideration. It'd have to be on our next agenda. We couldn't vote on that today. But I do think it's one. I'd like to get some feedback. Is that a consideration that council could support?
Mayor, may I ask a question, Mr. Mayor? Is there some specificity in terms of, we're looking at $28,000, is that for programs or program?
So it would be for the programs over a 3-month period, which means it's all on reimbursable. So you actually have to track how many kids are in the program, everything from transportation. There's some details to work out, but I didn't want to move forward with staff or anybody else unless I got support from council.
Mr. Mayor, I think this might be a good idea, but I know that Councilwoman Herbert has an idea also about maybe a coordinator that would work with the Department of Parks and Recreation Department to coordinate programs that would deal with children that might be at risk.
Oh, well, you know something I don't.
Well, she and I just talked, and she said that she would be interested in something like that. So maybe we have a council discussion. If that would be part of the discussion when she's back at the council table.
Like I said, we can't vote today because we're just bringing it forth for discussion. But I wanted to get some indication if this is one of the things that we can discuss. If not, I'd like to have it put on our work session, our next available time slot.
Well, we're only talking about $28,000, right?
I really want to be clear, Mr. Mayor. I know you have mentioned this, and Jeff and I have tried to hunt this unclaimed funding down. We've got to make sure when we do receive on the funds, that's what I'm asking the staff. So this will also give us time to clarify. When we receive back on funding, we need to make sure it's going to be properly accounted for from the original source. So I don't know if it was water and sewer money or general fund money. We need a minute to make sure. And we appreciate you doing that homework on that, but we just haven't seen the funds yet or reconcile the source, how we would source the funds back. So we need to do that. And assuming it is the $25,000 to $28,000, is just for my clarification, it would be you're suggesting it be reimbursable for one particular program?
Yes, ma'am. We've only received one program for the after-school basketball and so forth.
Can we do it at work session? You want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put it in a work session and talk about it.
Well, we're talking about funds that are reimbursable, and we're not talking about a whole lot of money. We're just talking about $28,000. I mean, that's a lot of money to me, and for anybody else who looks at $28,000 and got $5 in your pocket. It would seem to me that if we shoot for that and we have that kind of conversation, we could very well do this over a period of 90 days, somewhere between $10,000 a month reimbursable. So yes, if we could take that up in our work session and get some specificity in terms of how we plan to do that and how we plan to use that, because what I'm hearing you say, Madam City Manager, we've got to really find where the $28,000 is. Is that right?
Got to get it in our hands, yes, sir. And
Yeah,
sort
we
and
got to
make
get it in
sure.
our hands. Yeah, once we get it in our hands, I think we can reasonably talk about it and figure out how we're going to spend it. But I think we've got a good handle on where it ought to be or where it could possibly be and help in a very reasonable way. Thank you, ma'am.
Is that it? Work session?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Moving into the City Council Committee referrals, reports, and new business, item 34 is the Public Safety Committee report, the Honorable Howard E. Duvall, Jr.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Public Safety had two items on the budget, on the council agenda today, and we have deferred one of them until we have further discussion about the smoke and vape shop ordinance, and we passed the first reading of the firearms ordinance. There were a couple other items on our agenda that we will be taking up, but one of them is the nuisance ordinances that will be going along with some of the homeless details that we will be taking up. And we have asked, I believe the city manager is going to work with Reverend McDowell to do the signage for concealed weapons signage. Am I remembering correctly that
That's
you
correct.
agreed to work with? Okay.
Yes. We haven't had a chance to talk about that, but yes, sir, I will talk
So
with
those are the things that were left on our agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just add that we also had that one other thing about the warning signs.
I think that's part of it. We will do the warning signs.
Okay, it was
That
separate.
was part of it, yes.
No, this is a different warning sign than the guns. This is warning signs about CDB products that may cause you to fail a drug test.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, Madam City Manager, according to the conversation we had, and I want to refer to the chief, there has been a prototype sign developed. I have not seen it yet, but I understand that there is one developed. And at some point in time, I'm sorry?
The state law is pretty specific about the size and
That's
what
correct.
it is about the sign. What we're looking at is a method to produce those signs economically. So we will try to come up with that, and then it will be up to us working with the chief to come up with a system, maybe of code enforcement officers that could be trained to locate the proper placement of these signs when people ask for them.
All right. Ma'am? Ma'am?
She's
I
going
will,
to take care of it.
I'll
Ed.
speak with you about it.
All right, just want to make sure we keep it on the burner. All
Got
right.
it.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Is that all for your report?
Yeah.
Central Midlands Council of Governments report.
Basically, I had sent the summary for it to be attached to the minutes, as council members can review it as time permits.
Is there anything that you wanted to share with the public, Mr. Taylor?
Mayor Rickaman, I don't know if there are other referrals or reports at this time, new business?
Anybody have any referrals? No other reports or referrals, so
We do need to clean up one little matter from the presentations. It was actually a resolution for the street, rename, the honorary naming for Mr. Tompkins, and you all need to take a vote on that.
And Ken, for the record, is this the last possible street left in District 2, this honorary?
I got 10
And I think it
more.
is.
I got 10 more.
I don't think you do, Reverend McDowell. I think you wore them out over the last 7 years.
6 years, brother. All right.
So that would be item 2, going back to resolution number R 2022-073,
So moved.
approving.
Is there a second?
Second.
Well, obviously, there's no discussion left of this because we've already renamed the street and they're running off with the sign as we
horse is out
speak.
of the barn.
So with that, could we have
Motion.
we've got the motion and a second.
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Taylor. Dr. Bustles.
Aye.
Mr. Brennan.
Yes.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman.
Aye.
Thank you.
At this point, we have public input. It's not on our agenda for some reason.
Oh, it isn't, is it? No one signed in to speak.
Is there anyone here who wanted to speak?
Hey, Havar.
Javar, the microphone is yours. She's going to beep you at 3 minutes.
I don't need to worry. I just wanted to stop by here to say thank you. There's been an outpouring of support from the City of Columbia that has been very beneficial to the Broad River community. And our community of over 58,000 people, where 65% of those that are there are LMI households. The gang and gun violence problem that many have pushed to this mainstream, we've assessed many of these issues. And we understand wholeheartedly how to be able to help our citizens live more peaceable lives, have prosperity, and to be able to have the things that they're asking for. The work that you all are doing, especially you, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Bustles, we appreciate you for coming out to our community prayer walk and walk 7 miles almost, folks. It's quite the undertaking.
Uphill, too, I'll remind you.
Yeah, across the hill, across the bridge, across the river, uphill. That means a lot because there are agents like myself who are, and Mr. Taylor for contributing to us. Thank you so very much. It means a lot because not all the time do political forces and elected officials know how to tackle all of these issues. We're on the ground assessing the data. We have collected over 6,000 surveys. We've gone door to door. We understand what's going on in our communities. It's important that people that are in elected positions listen to that data. The federal government and the state, they're often disconnected too. And because many of these elected bodies do not communicate very well with one another, we FOIA that information. We find out where the money is, where the resources are going, and we appreciate in the City of Columbia that there is a degree of transparency that allows us to be able to get access to often just the information that we need to do better. We are excited about our future. We're growing our business footprint. We are tackling conservation issues, problems in family and mental health that are contributing to a lot of these issues. And we're very proud that outside of the obstruction that we experience in other groups and other political entities, the City of Columbia has continued to be a friend to the Broad River District. And we see the growth and we see the change. And we just really want to say thank you for all your support.
We want to thank you, Javar, for all you continue to do. You've been a very outspoken individual, and the Alliance has done so much for the community and brought a lot of things to attention. I mean, we've ridden around the neighborhoods. We've talked about what potential, and every time something comes up that affects, you put a voice out there to us, and I do think that's very important. So thank you for what you're doing.
God bless.
We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
With that, I'll just take a little point of privilege that later in this week, one of our members of council is going to celebrate a birthday. So, Mr. Taylor, we're going to take a minute to wish you happy birthday, who's coming this Thursday. So happy birthday to you coming up. I know you're going to celebrate it with a smile.
One shy of Medicare. How about that?
It's coming.
I do, and before we move to the thing, I wanted to point out and ask the city manager just to confirm, just so everybody knows, I think we have an economic development and community development meeting on Tuesday, and there may be a affordable housing committee meeting next Tuesday in the morning as well. I just think from now on, as we do these, close out these council meetings, if there's committee meetings on the following Tuesday, because some people don't seem to see our notices, and so having them read into the minutes here, I think is a really good practice for us.
The Affordable Housing Task Force will not be meeting.
Ma'am?
The Affordable Housing Task Force will not be meeting
Okay.
next week.
I just looked down at my notes. If council will bear with me, I'd like to check on Tuesday if we can find a slot for the legislative council to meet. We've got a few issues that we need to discuss and prepare an agenda so that we can share with the community. If we have some time on Tuesday or one day next week, if we could make that happen, Madam Clerk, the keeper of the calendar. Thank you.
So Chairman Howard come in, just wanted to say hello to you and welcome to City Council chambers today. Chairman Howard is very active on the comment board, and he is sowing our relationships at the State House, which we so greatly appreciate as we move forward. So thank you so much.
And of course,
Representative Howard, I apologize. I didn't see you slide in over there, or we would have stopped and recognized you earlier, but we appreciate you being here with us this evening.
Mr. Mayor, Leon Howard, of course, is a giant in our estimate. You've continued to assist communities with much-needed help and resources. Thank you so much for all you do for this city of ours. Thank you, sir.
With that, Mr. Duval, you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I moved we go into executive session for discussion of negotiations incident to propose contractual arrangements pursuant to SC Code 30-40-70A2, Dominion Energy, receipt of legal advice related to matters covered by attorney-client privilege pursuant to SC Code 30-40-70A2, event resolutions, receipt of legal advice relating to a pending, threatened, or potential claim pursuant to SC Code 30-4-70A2, Jacqueline Hendricks versus City of Columbia.
Is there a second?
So move.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan? Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here this evening.